Welcome to Apex News Above the Noise podcast. I am Kyle Thompson.
And I'm Craig Blanton.
I am joined tonight with my lovely bride sitting behind me as she's enjoying the fine Florida air as well as charging her phone and can't get too far away from the wall. So everybody say hi to Jen. We got a lot to talk about tonight. This is our spring break edition. We only have a couple shows this week, but we want to go ahead and we wanted to have these because it's important to keep things moving and also bring some news to you guys as well that you all need to have. Tonight, we are actually very honored. We are being joined by City Commission candidate Fred Deaton. Fred, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Fred, you have a long...
Turn his volume down.
Okay, all right, I'll take care of that. Fred, you have a long history in the in law enforcement. Oh yeah, Fred, if you can turn your volume down, and I'll bump you up a little bit. Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, there you go. All right. I'll work it on my end. Fred, if you can introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and why you're running for City Commission.
Well, my name's Fred Deaton. I've been in the community for a number of years. I put almost 35 years in with the police department here. It became kind of a tradition to protect and serve the community. During the past holiday season, a considerable number of friends and neighbors apparently began the draft Deaton for commission campaign, and actually they piqued my interest. I began to kind of research this past term of the Frankfort City Commission for the agendas, the minutes, the votes, and the more I began to dig into it, the more I began to think that perhaps they had a valid point asking for help for the community. The thing that got me was there are so many meetings, so many votes that, well, to be quite frank with you, many things were passed to which I did not agree. And what really shocked me on those things were so many of them were unanimous votes. Let me pull back and borrow a quote from one of my famous heroes of American history, General Patton, that says, if everyone in the room is thinking the same thing, then someone is not thinking. So
That's a good one.
General Patton gets the credit. He was much wiser than I believe. However, they did make their point, and I did agree to step up, which actually I'm glad I did. After the filing day, subsequently, we had a couple of issues pop up here. And I'm quite sure that both of you gentlemen are familiar with those of which I speak. And I'm not sure of your opinion, but from mine, there's no way I could have voted for either of those. And gentlemen, the thing that shocked me was they passed unanimously. I mean, I was glad that I stepped up after seeing that. But anyway, I'm here. I'm more than willing to answer any question from any citizen of Frankfort, Kentucky. My deal is to try to elevate the quality of life of Frankfort to the highest level possible. We have a great community, a fantastic community. So with a little collaboration, cooperation, let's step up and make Frankfort, Kentucky, that shining city on the hill.
Well, Fred, I've known you in your professional role with the police department, and I've known you outside of that. What is it about being a former city employee, regardless of the fact that it was in one division and it was law enforcement, and a lot of times those, law enforcement makes its decisions and then they kind of tell the city what's going to happen. But why is it that you would want to get back into city government? And was there one decision or a couple of decisions and issues that have sprung up that really kind of have pushed you towards wanting to seek this office?
Well, Mr. Thompson, you have to realize, as I'm sure you do from your track record, which I must step up here and say I've always admired, because during your terms, uh, when proposals that were brought up that I didn't feel were the greatest for the city, when they went through on a 4-1 vote. And Mr. Thompson was the one gentleman that would step up and say, "Hey, folks, this isn't the best thing." But to be honest with you, that is something which I greatly admire. And after 35 years, honestly, your community service becomes habitual. If you don't have a great passion for the community, let's face it, you're not going to be a policeman for 35 years.
That's correct.
So, it's kind of, was it like the old war horse that hears the bell and has to get
Hmm.
back into it? Um, I must admit, before it was brought to my attention, I hadn't been cognizant of actually where we were as a community. But researching the issues and the votes, I began to think, gee whiz, folks, we're not headed in the right direction here. So, as the as the other quote goes, that the pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist hopes it will change, and the leader steps up and adjusts the sails. So,
That's very true. Very, very true.
my thing is step up and let's get community cooperation and adjust the sails and put this ship in the right direction.
Fred, one of the things that, and thank you, by the way, I appreciate the compliment. You and I have talked out in public, and I've told you, you really sure you want to do this? Because being the dissenter, and uh, I fancy myself as the great dissenter of that 4 years, but being the dissenter is not always popular. While it may be popular out in the general public, you'll get a lot of attaboys out there. Being in city government, as you well know, you're not always a popular person in city hall if you are the great dissenter. So, tell me, are you prepared for that? Are you willing to be that voice? I harken back to Robert Roach, several years ago, where there were points where he said, "Why don't we just all throw our hands up in the air and just let the popular opinion rule, because we'll all be in a world of hurt later." And I think that's kind of where we've gotten, not just in local politics. Though, let me be very clear: local politics, state politics, national politics. This populist idea is not always good for common sense, and common sense gets thrown out the door. So, are you ready for this barrage of barbed arrows coming at you?
Well, Mr. Thompson, point one, I want to make up that anyone who's been a law enforcement officer for going on 4 decades, you're going to have to understand early on that there are going to be those whom you upset and do not like you.
A hundred
Uh,
percent.
my famous thing particularly as assistant police chief, telling the guys, "Hey, folks, if you want people to love you, be a fireman." Uh, the deal is, it's, to be quite frank with you, it's part of the job, and I understand exactly what you're saying. Uh, and the worst I figured can happen is, what are they going to do? Not like me? Hey, you know.
Yeah.
But to be quite frank and honest with you, I admire that dissenter role. I think that someone has to do it if you wake up and head in the right direction. If everybody just is sort of in a state of slumber and just goes along to get along, and that is not my personality. That has not been my career. Has settled. And if the voters want the quiet, subservient gentleman that does agree to that and goes along to get along, then quite frankly, I am not your man. Uh, you know,
Commendable.
if necessary, I mean, I can step up and shout as loud as any of them with an Eastern Kentucky accent. So at least
Excellent. Excellent.
maybe they can at least hear me.
Fred, a few questions. First, when you get the packets of information on the various votes that you're going to make, will you read those things and study them and ask some questions about them with the people that work for city government?
Well, absolutely, Craig. I sort of thought that was in the job description.
Me too, but you
You,
got to
you
ask.
may be you may be surprised.
Did I miss something here? I mean,
No, I mean, I'm just asking. Just got to get it out there. And because of the 5-0 votes, I haven't done the actual research, but just through memory, I would say there hasn't been 15 out of each vote is 5 people. So take that cumulative times the number of votes for that meeting times the number of weeks since last January. And I don't think there's been 10 or 15 no votes cast the entire time.
No,
And they're mostly made by one person.
I take that bet. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And so, like Kyle asked, you aren't afraid to be that odd man out if you think you're voting what's right for Franklin County. Is that what you're saying? I mean, for Frankfort.
absolutely. As I said, I thought that was more or less the job description.
Okay.
As I mentioned to you, and as I mentioned to Mr. Thompson, speaking with him often, uh, during his tenure, that in fact was his role, which I admired greatly. And if all you're going to do is roll over and say, "Oh, okay, whatever," then stay at home.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, let me
you
ask
know,
you specific things. If you don't, you're not a politician, but just you might act like one on these. The first thing is, we're doing that $180 million sewer project, which will help and spur growth in Franklin County. That's needed. And while doing that, I can't remember if this was when Kyle was on the city commission or last year. They voted for annual increases on the sewer bills for all the residents through 2031. Understandable, because you got to expand, you got to upgrade. We got really old sewer lines in some places, you got to do it. So my question is, the city commission just recently passed a vote to increase county residents sewer rates 15%, 10%, and
10%.
non-Franklin County residents 15%. On top of the annual increases they're going to that they've already passed. We didn't hear much reasoning from most of the commissioners. What are your thoughts on those kind of money raises, thinking the financial condition of the city right now?
well, to be quite frank and honest with you, my thing now, uh, without actually going into the dollars and cents and the figures and whatever reasoning excuses or whatever they're putting out there, let us be frank and honest and step up here. You and I and everyone in the community, your family, you have to live within a budget. And
Absolutely.
if there are items, where tough choices have to be made, then by all means you must do so. It's for your family and your survival. You have to do that. And I think it's time that government realizes that and steps up and does the same. Now, particularly with the sewer expansion, you know, is it necessary for the expansion for those cost increases? I said, without looking at the dollars and cents, I don't know. But if you do that, then to maintain the same budget and a workable budget, then, perhaps some trap fat somewhere else is going to have to be trimmed. There are several things in this, in my back study that I have heard repeatedly. And, a couple of them are expenditure issues, which perhaps are not totally necessary. And quite frankly, you all, from my background, the first people that grabbed my ear is, I understand we have a significant gap in staffing in public safety.
Right. I
You
confirmed
know,
that the other day.
Absolutely.
well, those are the people that that come and grab my ear, and of course, they're, you know,
Oh, darn. Hope his phone didn't
Uh,
die. But I'd say that's what it probably is. His phone died.
we'll see if he hops back in here. I will say, Craig, it's interesting to hear that from someone who's been in public service as a police officer, but and a city employee, understanding that there's a budget and you have to abide by that budget
Mhm.
because he's seen it as an assistant police chief, and he's been able to kind of see where those finances come from and how they work. And I think it's interesting, and I think it's actually a pleasant sign to see that for once, where somebody who has been beholden to a budget before,
Mhm.
who will actually have to have his the exact same thing happen with regard to moving forward. I think Fred is right in the sense that there are a number of projects, and we haven't. What we've had is we've had 5-0 votes, or rarely a 4-1 vote. A good example is the garbage issue that just the 4-1 vote that we had
Mhm.
with Lisa Unger actually
Right.
giving that no vote. And I actually agree with Commissioner Unger on this. I thought she actually made a very good point about the fact that we're simply saying that we're not going to charge a fee, but looking at year 2, the money is already going to be an issue, right? I mean, the money is already going to be more than what we're spending right now. So you can say we're not going to charge a fee right now, but we're going to charge a fee at some point. I mean, that's
They'll have
just
to.
reality. They're going to have to, because their
Because
budget's not going
costs
to be
will
there.
always go up. Those trucks are not going to get cheaper.
Absolutely.
Diesel's always going to be over $4 a gallon rest of our life. And the tires, the maintenance, cleaning out the back of the trucks, all that's going to be super expensive. I dealt with that in state government with the Department of Parks, and they're so they're not as expensive as fire trucks, obviously, but $75,000 a
They're pretty
truck.
dang expensive. They're pretty dang
Maybe
expensive.
150,000. I don't know. It's some crazy number, but you got
Hydraulics
to do it.
involved
It's
and all this
one of
other stuff.
those.
Yeah.
It's one of the. Okay, Fred's back
Looks like
again.
we got Fred here.
I want to hit him up on the new convention center.
Oh, we found
Hey,
him. We
Fred,
found him. Hey, still there with us?
yes, I'm here.
the
Uh,
phone died. Phone
a
died.
hiccup here, and I wasn't sure how to handle it.
That's
Okay.
all good. All good. Well,
Well,
I have
there's
you.
The
Yeah.
technology is above my head. Sorry, guys.
It's above ours. We're learning as we go too. So
Yeah.
this is all new for everybody. So
Since I talk frequently on social media about it, Andrew Hartley, is that his name, Kyle? The
yes,
former
yes,
city.
yeah.
He made a thing on, I think it was March 3rd of last year, that just shocked the world. I've never seen a city official be that blunt about a financial assessment.
It shocked everyone but a couple of people. I mean,
Okay.
we knew this. Myself and Commissioner Walters, we knew at the time that
Okay.
you're quickly going off the edge of
Okay.
the cliff. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and you agree, Fred, that government's number one job is public safety, right?
I mean,
Police, fire, and E911.
and the paramedics, yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're about, I think, around 6 city police officers short, I believe, which I don't know if we're short any on the city fire department. I ain't talked to any firemen lately.
Oh, I have.
Okay.
Those were the first crews to catch me. Yes,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
It's not
we're
a
building
big-
them. Yeah, we're finally building them a fire station, which we need. I agree with that 100%. But we've already spent $12 million, or the city spent $12 million or plus on that parking garage for some reason. And now we're going to whip out a $41 million meeting center that will, I don't know who, I guess it's going to benefit downtown businesses. But I made posts on those things, and I made a meeting center post the other day. And the vast majority, I'd say 90%
At
said,
least, yeah.
yeah, you saw it. Yeah, 90% said, what is that doing for Franklin County residents? Are you aware of the convention center and all that stuff going on with parcel B and C?
Well, I understand that they have thrown out preliminary plans for a civic center replacement.
Not a civic. No, let me correct. It's a meeting center. That's it. It's for meetings.
Yeah, and just to go one step further, it's essentially ballrooms. I mean, you can expand them into larger and smaller, at least for, but but you have the exact same thing 100 feet away at the Capitol Plaza Hotel, maybe a little bit more space, but you're now going to take up that parcels B and C, and Fred, I'll double on that question so you can add to it. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we were told that they were going to make a $50 million investment into downtown Frankfurt in the essence of we're going to build an office park. They were courting Investors Heritage to be able to move their national offices there. We are going to bring in doctors' offices. We're going to bring in potentially, food places people can get food, a pharmacy, all these things. None of it was true, and most of us that saw those plans, as you can imagine, when we first heard, oh, we're gonna offer $50 million, we're like, you'd be better served to throw your money out the window, and people could at least pick it up. Then we knew that they weren't going to spend $50 million on this, and now we find out that it's not a $50 million investment by this company and the company who bought the property for $1,000, but instead it's the city is going to be able to acquire the land back, it sounds like, and the
They're going to give it
city
to them.
is going to then build now there's $22 million that has been given to the city, or at least earmarked to the city of Frankfurt from the state budgets, the last two state budgets, and the city's going to bond another amount of money out. So now the city and the state are essentially putting 20-40 million dollars into this project. By the way, had you fixed the civic center to begin with, that was only $20 million as
20
an
million.
estimate.
Right.
So that let's just put that out there as well. So my question to you, and I think following up with what Craig is saying here, is what are we doing here? What is even going on right now, and how are we as elected officials going to be able to move forward on a project like this when we were lied to 5 years ago? We knew the folks weren't being truthful with us. How do you feel about being able to confront individuals on budgetary proposals like that?
Well, one thing, gentlemen, in case you haven't noticed, that I have worked many, many years on overcoming my natural shyness. So if it's if big chuckle, I thought, but if necessary, uh, throughout my career in the past, I have never actually had a problem stepping up to those that need to have the tough questions asked and saying, "Hey, what are we doing?"
Excellent.
Actually, it's job description, to be quite frank and
It
honest
is
with you.
absolutely.
And I think at this point, and please forgive me for saying this, but even on a national scale, I think the term ballroom isn't quite being a very popular
No, it's not. It's not, and it's funny. It's funny you
concept.
put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, forgive me for resorting to the obvious, but yeah,
Well,
I think the problem is, and through and through the scenario that you placed up there, it appears to me is none of your decision makers have sat down, established a path on which we need to travel, set the priorities, and focused. It seems as perhaps it's sort of a haphazard, helter skelter. One day we're doing this, and the next day we're doing that. And to be quite frank and honest with you, folks, when it comes to a point such as that, what I think you're lacking is strong leadership. Somebody's got to step up there and say, "Hey, folks, this is what we got to do." It may be unpleasant on point A, but it's the only way to progress through points B and C. So the scenario and the picture that I'm getting out of this is exactly what's coming into play here. I don't think that not only, the planning process has been years and years and years, and it alters from month to month. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you may need to alter and adapt, but I still think we need to set our sights on a goal and to work toward the goal that is for the betterment of the community. And, you got to do within your budget. If you can't afford it, I'm sorry, folks, you can't afford it.
Well, changing to the next financial topic that the city's dealing with is the solid waste collection with trash collection. They've got, they struggled early on purchasing the replacement trucks from the fire. Then they didn't pick up recycling for about 9 months. Now they're picking recycling up, I think, every couple of weeks. And now there's so much confusion out in the community about what's going on. Is the city going to charge for waste collection, which I know they're not, and charge the public is what I mean.
Right.
Or they're going to pay for it in-house. How much is it going to cost? If they go private, what are they going to do with the 20 or 21 employees that are there? They're going to keep them on. Are you familiar with the solid waste collection? Because if you remember when Commissioner Wilder did just that pay as you throw stuff, that $5 a thing, the city had a heck of a time even collecting that $5.
Nobody paid it and they threw it on the ground.
Yeah. So are you up to speed on the trash situation that's coming forth?
Well, to be quite frank and honest with you, I'm up there where the public is. I get the public information at this point, and I think you did hit the nail on the head. As if you recall, when we went back to having the old everybody goes to Lowe's and gets their trash can that's under the specs and set it out there. The city's got the contract with the regional jail. The inmates pick it up. The city drives the truck, and the corrections officer follows to keep an eye on the inmates. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point, it cost the city a few bucks for lunch for the inmates.
Yeah.
A couple dollars.
Yeah, whatever you've got there, and what precipitated. Now, I do recall when they had to go went to the brand new trucks. The city paid for the cans, and the so-called garbage tax was enacted.
Right.
I do recall that, and my big thing on that, as I recall, they had no way to collect it. They couldn't. The plant board wouldn't let them put it on the bill.
Right.
So what happened was you had to walk down whatever month, annually or whatever, and actually go to the finance department and pay your bill. Now not only did it irritate a good deal of the public, but it was so inconvenient. It was not a popular thing. And then I recall when it was removed. So, what we've done is gone from a cost-effective process, and for whatever reason, into one that is becoming a cash cow. And I agree with you. What happens if you privatize to those employees?
Right. That's 21 human beings that got jobs in Franklin County.
And they've got a family to raise. They need to eat. Their children need to eat. You've already got those people there, and to just not utilize them is kind of, well, that's not an effective method of governing, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But my thing is, and after this is coming to light, the first thing I did was get some of the contacts that I knew at Public Works to try to find out when and where it actually went askew from the contractual agreement with the county on the inmates. So my plan was to try to contact Jailer Hopper and see exactly if you could ease back into that in some manner. If they've already entered a contract into the private company, I'm not even sure if that's feasible. But
Yeah, I
I
don't know
think
if they have or
maybe.
not.
Uh, but my point number one was that option ever explored? Did the city ever reach out
Have
to?
we made it too complicated? Have we overthought? You know, when you had a good thing in Frankfurt and people say, and I hate it when city government says, "Well, you're lucky because every other city has a tax fee." But have we simply made it more difficult in saying, "Hey, we had a pretty good system working here. Let's figure out how to make that system work."
Well, let me step up here too, Mr. Thompson. Every other city is not the capital of the Commonwealth.
There you go.
Correct.
Frankfurt is a great city. We're a shining city where we should be a leader and an example.
Right.
Why in the name of heaven do you want to settle for average with everyone else? I mean, that's just, in your upbringing, your parents don't tell you, hey, kid, you grow up and you be very, very average. I mean, is that the goal to which we try to attain? I mean, let's be frank and honest. And if we have to step on toes, unfortunately, we may have to do so. But
And
you are correct. That the same point that you made has irritated me for years. What you remember what your parents would tell you? If everybody jumps off the cliff, are you going to go with them?
right,
Right.
yeah. Mine was jump off a bridge. You're gonna follow behind them.
Well, same,
Saying the
Yeah,
same.
same thing. Yeah.
same thing. Yeah, yeah.
But the
Different
thing of it
generation.
is, we've all heard that in our upbringing, and apparently some of us have forgotten it. So there's got to be avenues out there. As to pull another thing, and I hate to quote a Democrat, but from President Kennedy, if all problems created by man can be solved by man. So let's go back to the drawing board if we have to, and see what we were doing when it was working well, and see if perhaps maybe to retreat in this instance isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, we got 275 inmates. Um, I think I asked Kyle the other day if judges could sentence community service to people, but then we got the issue was that you'd have to hire more people to watch the inmates
To
doing the
watch the
community
inmates
service.
that did the
Yeah,
community service.
because they're the jails. I think the jail's fully staffed now, but not fully staffed for what they used to do back in the day when you and I were working, and we would see the inmates on the side of the road. We see the inmates on the trash trucks. But I don't know why they don't do it. I had 21 inmates or 22 inmates at Fleet Management's in our T1 garage and
Well,
doing
and
oil
there,
changes
yeah.
and things like that, saving the state just millions of dollars.
And there's so many liability reasons and everything else. But again, I think if there's more than one way to skin a cat, another saying that we heard when we were younger, and we got to figure out how to make things affordable. This is not a good time for middle and low middle class right now. And
Right.
low and people who are at poverty levels, and to add an additional fee on here is difficult. Fred, let me ask you about you talked about we were talking about public safety. Obviously, that's near and dear to my heart. It's what I spend my entire life on right now. Um, One of the things that it is a common talking point amongst higher level city staff is that we don't have a crime problem in Frankfurt. We don't have a drug problem in Frankfurt. It is so blasé when they say it, and it's so offensive to me when I see the drug problem on a daily basis. Uh, how would you refocus efforts from our police department and paramedics, because they're at every scene too, trying to revive these people, and firefighters? How would you refocus efforts so that for some reason we in America we've come to this idea, and again, one of the reasons that Craig and I started this entire venture, we've started this venture because people are afraid to tell the truth about things. They're afraid to just say what it is. And unfortunately, when you say, hey, we have a drug problem and a crime problem in our community, people immediately go, shut up. What are you
Right.
doing? You're going to keep people from wanting to move in here. So from your perspective, is there a crime and drug problem? And if there is, how do we fix it?
Well, Mr. Thompson, of course there's a crime and a drug problem. You know, you're in the real world. Frankfort, Kentucky is the real world. And those people that say the problem is not here, they are either delusional or they just will not open their eyes and look. Uh, those that say that, I wish they could have been with me for 35 years, seeing what's
Absolutely.
going on in Frankfort. You know, and that is to be quite frank and honest with you, that is the thing. The average citizen has no idea.
None.
Yeah, if they have to call 911, they figure, okay, it's taken care of. And in fact, it is. Let me,
It is.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
it is. But as to what transpires, the effects on the lives of the individuals that are in those scenarios, that's the thing that your first responders see on a daily basis. The terrible and the hard aspects of it, those people that don't see it are the ones that will tell you we have no problem.
100%.
Of course we have a problem, and a lot of times those problems are terrible. If you could convince the people that are saying that, you would have to basically open their eyes. Now, how you would do that, I don't know. But the sad part is, when it comes to prioritizing that, so long as they're safe, warm, and secure in their little cubicle or their little environment, they're likely going to tell you the same thing. To be quite frank and honest with you, one of what I consider my top achievements was when I was promoted to the role of an assistant police chief, where I could actually do some of the things that I had wanted to for years. One of the first things that I stepped up to organize and initiate was a Citizen Police Academy program.
We have one of the best in the state, and if not the country.
Right.
Well, you know, over all those classes and all those feedbacks I got from, never, ever did I get a less than a glowing response. The great thing of it is, not only did the citizen begin to understand what we did, how we do it, and why we do it, they got the picture of what actually goes on, let's say Frankfurt After Dark.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, one of the first things I have told you that, and I said repeatedly, that even Frankfort, Kentucky, after midnight is an entirely different place.
It is. It
That
is.
from 8 to 4:30, and your people that say there's no problems, it's Shangri-La. They've never been in these
Yeah.
places. At 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, one of the great I said about retirement is, not one time since I've retired has my phone rung at 3 o'clock in the morning. And honestly, when
That's a good
somebody
thing.
calls you in, it's never, ever, ever good
No.
news.
No, it is not.
And those were way, way too frequent. We had a year, unfortunately, where our per capita of homicides exceeded the rate of Fayette and Jefferson counties. Now, the previous 2 years in front of that, we had zero in the
Right.
community.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was when we had 7 murders in 1 year, I think.
well, it's more like 10, but yeah,
Okay.
and most of them were those 3 o'clock in the morning calls that I got.
They
Yeah.
were.
But
Yep.
the deals, dealing with, and I understand the questions. They were all. I also had to explain those to the media, but you know, sometimes there are circumstances come to your community that peak the bad things.
Absolutely.
You know, at the time, you can only deal with the matter at hand. You know, now, of course, there are things that we could tell that were causing some of it, but when you have 2 years of none, and then you've suddenly got a year where your per capita leads the Commonwealth, then you have something coming in. Uh, our deal is, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with, but Frankfort, Kentucky is right in the middle of the Golden Triangle.
Hmm.
Yep.
Fayette, Jefferson, and Northern Kentucky. Uh, 75 is just a couple of miles out here. You have a huge transport of south to north drug trafficking. Uh, Unfortunately, the larger areas, Fayette, Jefferson, and those, and I really hesitant to say this, but the drug market had become so prevalent that we were getting a lot of the overflow from those areas because competition of drug dealers was so great in those areas. Frankfort
Yep.
was an open market.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you've got a lot of that, you got a lot of anger, you got a lot of weapons, you
Yeah.
got a lot of
Poverty.
scenarios.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes it happens and sometimes, I mean, you know, and sometimes it smooths out. But the base problem and the core is still there. It is, as long as there are human beings, that's not going to go totally away.
Right.
So, and even if that, there are other horrible things that happen. So the the priorities that I have, well, naturally put at the top of the list are your public safety. Now, you are correct. The police vacancies. 2 nights ago in the gym, I had a couple of firemen that were enlightening me on their issues. And honestly, they're quite similar.
Yeah.
Uh, Surrounding areas are paying similar, if not more, and with a significantly less workload.
Yeah.
Now, there are a couple of options that the firefighters stressed to me that would help the situation, help their recruitment and retention situation.
Yeah.
But and I'm getting it from rank and file, please
Sure.
understand. But my sad impression is that all of their pleas have fallen on deaf ears.
Hmm.
As we go back to the trash thing, may I pose the question of when things were going well, did anyone in the current city administration contact Jailer Hopper and say, hey, it worked well. Why don't we see where we are? You know, could it work again? I don't know. Did that happen? I don't know.
I have no clue.
Yeah, and to follow up with my question about law enforcement, just real quick, and Craig has a follow up as well. But one of the when we started seeing the drug activity really ramp up, 2008 to 2010 timeframe, one of the things that we had great coordination between the city and county, and we had coordinated efforts by um, city police and county police. We also had great coordination between city and county government. You know, we had city and county government that worked together, and I was shocked the other day. We were talking about this on another show, but they had a 15-minute meeting of all of the, you know, the city, county, and the county school systems. And I don't know why that's so rare. I don't know why it is an odd thing to see that happen. It seems like our community is way too small to not have city and county coordination on literally every decision, and there is not. What is your position on working with city and county agencies and city and county government as a whole?
Well, I think over the years that both of you are familiar enough with me to know that I have no qualms in speaking with anyone. I'm receptive. I will listen. You know, if I don't agree, I don't agree. But, you know, it's vital to reach out there and get that input. And sometimes there are other avenues, perhaps that you didn't see. And let me bring up another example that during those times which you were speaking, uh, we had a really significant spike in residential burglaries. Well,
Absolutely. I was a victim of that. Absolutely. Yep.
well, one of the things that pulling the crime statistics and reading bunches and bunches crime reports, which I became proficient at, by the way. But one thing that I found in a lot of those, well, in a significant number, actually the majority, was that most of these residential burglaries, that if prescription medication was not stolen in the areas in which they would normally be kept,
Yep.
were gone.
Ransacked.
Well, the idea is hitting, pretty obvious that a lot of these, your pillhead burglars. So what I came up with at that time, the DARE program had, in some parts of the country, I'm not sure, explored a prescription drug take back program with the local health department.
Right. We do that now.
Well, is it only with DEA or?
No, it's city police, sheriffs. And the only reason I know it is because Sheriff Quire used to buy them all pizza every year. And
Yeah.
I would deliver the pizza to them. And sit and visit with them. And man, it was an amazing amount of pills, prescriptions from people that had passed away, or they just didn't use them because they were, for whatever reason. But our time is getting short on this 1 hour podcast. I wanted to ask one more thing on the public safety part. We had that flood last year. I don't know, and I'm asking this because Charlie Boo, Rebecca Ruth, Charlie Boo, he asked if the city and county have done, I think maybe it's just the city, what they've done to plan for the next inevitable flood, because we're going to have another flood. And as
long as you're on the river, yes, that's going to happen.
Yeah. And so I don't know, because I don't watch every meeting, but would that be something? Because, it was a pretty big disaster. A lot of families in Bell Point along Paul Sawyer Drive and South Frankfort, they were, and Big Eddie just got obliterated. A couple of people lost their backyards completely. Would that be something you would focus on as future planning, instead of, like you said earlier, dealing with just an issue A here, issue F there, issue Y there? Would you have something that would be something you would daily focus on or monthly focus on to plan for the next meeting? Have locations for food, water, clothing, beds, have all that stuff lined out ahead of time, that if it hit, you could just go right at once that first day to start helping the citizens instead of taking a week or something.
Oh, absolutely. To pre-plan, is to be prepared. The idea of having a plan, and in that venue, it was, now I can't say now, but at one time, Franklin County was really great in the emergency management cooperation. Their staffing was on the floor above us, and now, unless it's changed, the city emergency management director is a great guy.
Yep.
He's sharp and he's into preparation.
Yep.
Oh, if it's not done, I'm sorry.
Great job. He does a great job.
Yes, he does. I know he was a great captain. Had him for years.
Mhm.
But my thing is, if it's not currently at its peak, I think all you would need would be, hey Ray, go get this.
Yeah.
And when you've got, my point again, when you have effective leadership and you let them lead, then good things can happen.
That's right.
And if that is not already in place, I'm quite sure that just giving a go ahead and saying, hey, do this, you would have probably one of the best preparedness communities that's in the Commonwealth, which is, and as I say, let me say again, that Frankfort, Kentucky should be at the top of that list in everything.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have Ray on. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He's on to discuss that, but it was really important to get you on as a city commission candidate. I know Kyle's going to close on the remarks, but we appreciate the heck out of you coming on, and we'll probably have you on again before the election.
Absolutely.
If you're okay with that.
We absolutely will.
Dive into some other topics.
This has been a good conversation, Fred. Thank you so much for joining us. We will discuss this more. Again, thank you for your time this afternoon, and thank you for being willing to run again as somebody who's done that. I know the sacrifice it means to your family and to your time and to all of the other hobbies that you'd love to be having. You don't get to do as many of those with this, so thank you for being willing to do that.
I appreciate you saying so, Kyle. Thank you, sir.
All right.
We'll see you soon, Fred.
Yeah, we will talk to you
absolutely.
soon.
And the two of you can count on that.
That's right. That's right. We will talk to you soon, Fred. That was Fred Deaton. He is running for city commission here in the city of Frankfort. The election is coming up there is an election, a primary in May. There's only 8 running, so he will move on to the fall. So you will get to see those names, but they will all move on into the fall. We had all sorts of stuff to talk about tonight, Craig, and I'll just I'll be really quick on these. I'll hit them really quick. Latest on the Kentucky roster. This is big news for you and I. We text all night long about things that are happening. Malachi Moreno, the hometown boy, is coming back to the University of Kentucky.
Great news.
It's fantastic news. He is entering the NBA draft to go to the combines and things just to test the waters. We all know that there's going to be 60 better players than Malachi Moreno right now. He knows that, but essentially in his letter to the Kentucky fans, he essentially said, if I come back to college, I'm going to be at Kentucky, which, and to my understanding, what I've heard is there's been signatures on documents that say so. So that aspect is completely done. Late this afternoon, late breaking news, Cam Williams has announced that he is also coming back. So for all of those folks who are Kentucky fans and say, hey, we don't have a team right now. Yeah, you do. You have a very good core. We're just waiting on Captain Clutch at this point. That's the most important thing. We got to find out where Colin Chandler is on that. But I wanted to bring up one more thing. One of our best players, one of our secret weapons, if you will, is sitting on the bench right now. Braden Hawthorne. He's 6'9". He may be 6'10" now. This is a picture of him at Big Blue Madness. He weighed about $130. He weighed more than that, but he needed to hit the weight room. And now with Moreno back, Cam Williams back, if you get Chandler back, you got a Braden Hawthorne back. We were already talking before we went on the air that Magoon Gwath,
I'm going to ask you to talk about him.
Yeah, a 7-footer from San Diego State. He through his sophomore year, he averaged 8.8 points per game, 4.8 rebounds a game, 2.1 blocks, and he was the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. As a freshman, he alters way more than just 2 shots a game. And oh, by the way, Craig, this is going to be your favorite stat: a 7-footer who shoots 48% from 3-point as well. Awesome.
Spreads the court out wide.
It absolutely does. And it means a lot because I want to focus on what happened last night. A lot of folks are talking about, are we ever going to have a team like that Michigan team that we saw last night, or even that UConn team that we saw last night? Let's be very clear. The best player on the floor last night for Michigan, Yaxel Lindenborg, played 3 years at a JUCO, right? I mean, in his first year at a junior college as an 18-year-old, he averaged 6 points and 4 rebounds a game. The best player in the country, because he's now 23, played 3 years at a JUCO and averaged 6 points as a freshman. So all of you folks out there who want these 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids to come in here and compete against grown men, it takes time. There is development. And Kentucky right now has a great core of young players that are coming back. They have a kid on the bench that is already talking about coming over. We've got Magoon Gwath that they're talking about right now.
We're number 1 on his list, right?
We're number 1 on his list. Yeah,
He's very
Tyron Stokes, and
strong.
I think what we're seeing right now is that because of all these moves, we're kind of reading the tea
Moving
leaves,
on.
but
We're moving
I
on.
think
Yeah,
we're moving on from Tyron Stokes. And
me
I
too.
saw a really weird uh, tweet earlier today from, and it just proves my point from yesterday's show. This guy was like, "We need to move on. Tyron Stokes needs to make a decision right now, or we need to move on." And I'm like, "Look, Bob from your mom's basement.
Yeah.
I think the guys who are getting paid millions of dollars to understand this, they're getting it. And so I think I think it's important to know that this team is working hard. Um, we are going to take about a 3-day break, and we'll be back the first of the week, and we'll catch up on everything that's happening. But we will jump on if there are big things that happen.
Mhm.
But I found it very interesting, Craig, that at the exact same time that the portal opened, the University of Kentucky dropped this rather big news. They have launched what's called Blueprint, a front office database for data-driven decisions. Now, this is just going
Yeah.
to make you giddy, Craig, because you're
Yeah.
all about
Analytics
numbers.
to the
Yeah,
max.
yeah, and Kevin Sargent for the UK Senior Associate AD for Compliance says we continue to adapt and position ourselves to compete at the highest level of all. Our sports blueprint is an important part of our overall player acquisition, retention, and management strategy. This new database solution will empower our front office staffs with the backing of not just data and analytics, but the right information distilled in a concise and effective manner. The football team is already on there. The basketball and the women's basketball team is already on there, and this is proprietary in nature. So Dropback, which is the company that developed this, this is Kentucky's now, and we have this. We dropped this the day that the portal opens, and it's kind of like, look, guys, we are cutting edge when it comes to data analytics at this point, and I think that's what we're finally getting some guys. Will Stein getting the hire in football along with Mark Pope and changing that total office when it comes to the AD's office and what's happening in athletics. You're going to see a massive change at the University of Kentucky. And yes, we probably got stifled down in tradition and how things always were, but those days are changing right now.
Yeah. And with this data, it not only will be numbers driven, but they'll have quotients in there and algorithms for emotion, family
All
stability,
of it, every bit of it.
school
Your social
attitude,
media
all that stuff.
presence,
Yeah, everything's going to be
your
in there,
your
which will
screen
help.
time, your how much you're sleeping at
Right.
night,
Yeah.
all of that.
And that'll help Pope and Stein make those tough decisions on the do we get him, do we not get him? Or is this guy a great player, but he's a bad apple in the bunch? Do we want him to ruin the harmony on the team, even though he could score 25 points a game or get 1,100 yards a year? But if if you're a bad apple and they won't block for you or they don't
100%.
pass you the ball, they freeze you out. You're not doing any good to the team. So this will be a huge benefit for us. And Pope is all about analytics. Will Stein is all about analytics. So this is a perfect fit at the right time for these two coaches to make us better.
Well, and I think it's interesting that this is happening all right now, especially
Right.
with the portal opening up, and after a lot of people are saying, how did Kentucky end up with a top 10 football portal class? This is how. It
Right.
was the guys that came over from Oregon, and the folks that the athletic directors are already moving in here. They are moving this in the right direction. The University of Kentucky said on here that Kentucky's investment in a platform like Dropback is exactly what you'd expect from a program with their tradition and ambition. And they go on to say the Blueprint is powered by Dropback, one of the fastest growing sports technology companies in college athletics. It's built by former Microsoft and Meta engineers. Dropback is a centralized front office platform that combines personnel and financial data into one private system,
Right.
similar to what many pro sports. And by the way, that's what this is becoming. These are pro athletes. These are pro level front offices, and you got to have that.
Yeah, Jay Billis said it the other when Calipari was on the championship game.
Yep.
Calipari was kind of saying it wasn't pro sports, and Jay Billis interrupted him and said it is absolutely
100.
professional sports.
And if you don't get with that, yeah.
Yeah, he said it was professional sports before NIL, and it is 100% professional sports now. So when I saw the thing about Blueprint, I said, man, this is perfect. This is what you need in today's society to help these coaches because, we talked about yesterday, social media has hurt the team, our recruiting, football and basketball. And I watched several UK podcasts last night, man, the comments, they just don't get it. They don't
That
get it. So I hope Pope and Stein can get these players away from that stuff, tell them not to listen to it, and to totally focus on the sport they're playing.
I will tell you two other guys that they are looking at. There is a guard from the University of Utah, scored 20 points a game last year. Brown, he's actually had a FaceTime with Coach Pope today, and he posted it on his private.
Today?
Yeah, today. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
and had a private Snapchat story. Matt Jones tweeted out later, it's pretty cool that all these other players are having Zoom calls with these programs. Pope's doing FaceTime calls with them.
Yeah.
This
He
is how
knows
the
the
kids talk.
technology.
He knows
Yeah, right.
knows what he's doing. And the other one that we are hearing a lot about right now is Zoom Diallo. He is a point guard and played on the exact same AAU team as Tyron Stokes. He is a heck of a guard as well.
Yeah, they're friends, aren't they?
Yeah, very good friends. And it sounds like Kentucky is done with the experiment of maybe 1.5 decent point guards. They are going out and getting a couple of studs. Also in that mix,
Maybe 3.
yeah, and in that mix is the point guard from LSU. He is in the portal. He had a call today as well. It sounds like in the next 3 days, we're probably going to have the basis of our team. And honestly, if Tyron Stokes goes to Kansas, fine. Kansas has no players. There is nobody at Kansas right now. We at least have a core. So fans, relax. It's going to be fine. And as you know, the famous Aaron Rodgers quote, "Relax. It's everything's going to be fine." And it will. It'll work itself out. And I really have faith in what these guys are doing right now. The folks who I know who are deep in the University of Kentucky athletics feel very confident about what our football, basketball, women's basketball, baseball, where we are going. And I think that
women's basketball news. Did you see this today? Virginia's after our women's basketball coach hard.
Yeah, and
they've targeted him.
Yeah, and he's from Virginia, so I just got information that says that it appears that Kenny Brooks is going to stay. So it doesn't, and they are not going to let him go over money. So they're going to lock him in. I will say that Morehead State's lost their girls basketball coach. That was Coach Ashton Feldhouse. That's her uncle is Darren Feldhouse.
Yeah.
She is going to McNeese State. So good for her for
what is Feldhouse, his son?
Jake Feldhouse.
Yeah. Is he signed with anybody?
He is not. But he is reported to be leaning towards potentially Western Kentucky.
Okay.
So that would be a wide body, like to get him. But if we're going to be getting Magoon Guath and some of these other guys coming in here, 6'10", 7-footers.
And Feldhouse on 6'7".
6'7". Yeah. 6'7". So
and we didn't recruit him at all.
We did not. We did not recruit. And that's Mr. Basketball in Kentucky.
Right.
But
he's number one.
I think what you're going to see is that this new system and these new folks that we have here are going to prevent us from making some of the bad decisions that we have in the past over emotion. He's the best player. Well, is he the best player because of who he played, or is he truly the best player?
Right. No competition in a weak league.
Right. No, Cam Williams was playing at Tulane and was scoring 11 points a game. They got Cam Williams. I think Cam Williams is a 15-point scorer all day, every day when he's healthy. He got off to a slow start. You're learning to shoot in Rupp Arena, one of the hardest places. I think you're going to see a huge difference next year. And let's be clear, Michigan had a bunch of guys from a bunch of different schools, and none of them were good when they started.
All 5 starters were they were non-Michigan original recruits.
That's correct.
And they were big. They were big.
They were big, and they're fast, and they do. But they developed. These are 22, 23-year-old men competing against 18-year-old boys. There's a big difference.
They're losing every one of them.
Yeah, they're all going, and they'll have to reload too. It's like I said yesterday. Michigan's great. They're going to have to reload. UConn's good. They're not going to be good forever. Kentucky, listen, we had 23 wins. In most programs, 23 wins is a solid program. We understand. We expect 30 wins. We expect to win the SEC tournament. We want all that, and we're going to get it. The problem is that if the fan base continues to make these points that, if Tyron Stokes doesn't make a decision, we move on, Coach Pope. That was a direct tweet to Coach Pope. Hey, Bubba, get out of your mom's basement, touch some
Right.
grass, and
Yeah.
realize that they got it under control. They know what they're doing, right? Just because you're working at Taco Bell later and you think you know what you're doing, that doesn't mean you know more
They,
than Coach Pope does.
I say, let them hit a 3-foot bank shot before they can
Absolutely,
post. See if they can more damn
absolutely.
basketball ever been in their hands. Period.
Absolutely. Now, listen, we're all very passionate fans. I've yelled at the TV a lot this year because I'm a passionate fan. I know you have too, Craig. We've both gotten upset. And over the last few years, we've done the same thing, and you have every right to do that. There's next year. There's next
But
year. We're already into next year, and it starts today.
I still watch till the last second.
Every second, even when
I'm
they're
not
down
one
by
of those
40.
fans that turns it off at halftime because I'm afraid of what I'll miss in the second half, because part of the year we were a second half comeback team.
That's right.
And a lot of people missed a lot of great comebacks this year.
Well, Craig, you and I were at the state championship football game, and we
Right.
were watching Kentucky getting dog walked by
Right.
UConn, right? No,
Yep.
it's Gonzaga. Gonzaga, sorry. Getting
And it
dog
was
walked by
dog walk.
Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And they got destroyed. And we were watching the game up on the wall because we don't like to miss everything. So, and there's a reason, because when we're good, it makes it even sweeter, right?
Yeah.
And so I think some of these fans that are they're all decent people, I'm sure, but you have to realize that what you're doing is potentially giving a bad name to the program just because you're being a
Yeah.
jerk and unrealistic.
And
So
I remember one time I was at RUP Section 14, about 3 rows from the top of Section 14, which is lower arena, by the door. And this woman was reading a book while her husband was watching the game. I said, man, I'd like to just have her ticket all year long.
I know, right?
She's
Right.
reading a darn book
She
during a
has,
basketball game. Everybody's screaming like crazy.
yeah, and I know a lot of people and through the years have commented, man, if Rupp Arena was like,
Duke.
being at Duke at Cameron Indoor, it'd be so much, be so crazy. Hey, my idea is, hey, let's play one game a year at Memorial Coliseum. Let the students have the lower level. I don't care if you're playing whoever, some Division II program or something. Let them do that. Enjoy it. But
Or just let the whole upper deck occupy the lower deck and let the lower deck go to the upper
yeah,
deck.
do something crazy. But at
Crazy fans are in the upper deck anyway.
Yeah, and I think if you allowed that to happen, you let the people get their druthers. But listen, it's those people who are sitting on their hands a lot of times. Those are the people who are your donors to the program as well.
Right. That's
And
true.
we have shunned some of them too over the years by saying that they don't act right and things. We're a different kind of program, and we are different than Duke. We're different than North Carolina. We're different than Kansas.
We're better than
and
all of them.
yeah, and we're better than all of them. We really are, And so my hope for everyone is that we will start seeing this program be put back together, and we'll have a lot of updates on Monday. I'm really actually excited about that, to be able to do that. So we will join you guys next Monday, 5 o'clock, as we always are. And we'll have all of the news that fits, whether it's local, state, national, and all the local and national sports. And of course, your source for University of Kentucky news and information that's coming out. I want to thank my friend Craig Blanton, who joins me always. And we will see you guys next time on Apex News Above the Noise. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy your spring break there in Kentucky.